Yo, what up, yo? It's your boy Shady C here. So, recently, I started watching this show called Manifest on Netflix. I don't know if y'all heard of this, but it's a good-ass show. Basically, it's very similar in plot to an older show from years ago called 4400. Not the same, but similar. The story is, it's about a plane full of people who take off from Jamaica, heading back to the U.S., and there's some turbulence in the flight, but nothing insane that would lead you to believe something crazy happened. Anyways, there's some pretty bad turbulence, and then they land, and then the people at the gate at the airport are like, yeah, we need to have the police and paramedics meet you on the runway. And they're like, the pilot's like, okay. So, they meet him at the runway, and turns out that the plane, which was supposed to take a couple hours to get there, got there 5.5 years later. This is insanity. 5.5 years later. So, they were already presumed dead. And, I mean, it's a very emotional show because you see people having to deal with the fallout. Some women and men who were married or engaged or dating have moved on. But there's one specific couple I want to talk about with y'all. Ben. Was it Ben? Is his name Ben? I suck at names. The dude from Once Upon a Time, Josh Dallas is the name of the actor. I think his character's name is Ben. Anyways, so what happened was when it was in Jamaica, it was him, his son, his daughter, his wife, his mom, his dad. And apparently the plane was pretty full. So the stewardess, or the, what do they call them now? Flight attendant, came out and was like, hey, if you want to take a later flight, was saying this to everyone, hollering out, this plane's pretty full, so if you want to take a later flight, we'll give you a $400 credit. And he was like, oh, shoot, all right, I'll do it. No one else wanted to do it except him and his son. And his son's like, yeah, Dad, you're doing it, I'll do it. So they take the later flight, and they're on the flight that showed up 5.5 years later. Everyone else took the regular earlier flight. So remember, he's married to this woman. He gets home. Turns out she had another boyfriend. I mean, she was faithful while, they were together, but in 5.5 years, supposedly 2 years into it, like, she was grieving and mourning his loss for 2 years. Then she met a guy, wound up dating him. And they didn't get married or nothing, but it was serious. And when she finally admits to her husband about it, he's kind of understanding, which I would not have been understanding. And you hear one scene where the daughter, who at the time of her dad's accident was 12, and is now 12. She's 16, so she must have been like 12 turning 13. Because 12 and 16 is 6 years, not 5, but it was 5.5. So she must have been like 12 and a half turning 13, and she's 16 when he's back. But anyways, so there's one scene where she's talking like, I'm glad my dad is back. I love my dad. I'm so glad he came back. But then referring to the boyfriend, but he's my dad too. He's my dad too. Whoa. So let me get this straight, y'all. Now, remember, I never had a father, so I don't know. I could be totally right or completely off base with this. But is the title of dad really that replaceable that fast? Think about it. He disappeared when she was 12, so he was her dad in her life constantly for 12 years. And they make sure to mention that she didn't meet this man until 2 years into him being missing. He was gone for 5.5 years. So let's say he was in her life for 3.5 years. A man that's only been in your life for 3.5 years can replace a man that's been there for 12? Really? I didn't know that. I didn't realize. I would have got to like this, but I had to. This is a crazy topic. I didn't realize that the title of father was that easily replaceable. And she fell in love. She's like, oh, well, I waited for 2 years. I was miserable for 2 years. Bitch, we were married for longer than that. I assume that they were married for longer than 12 years. They have not yet mentioned how long they've been married for. But you got to think, his oldest kid was 12 at the time of his disappearance. 12 and a half at the time of his disappearance. So at the very earliest, they were probably together for 13 years. Let's say they were together for 13 years. Let's just say. It could have been longer than that. Who knows? But 13 years? And you waited 2? That's insane to me. I mean, I play the asshole Shady C, but as a person, as Chris, I've always believed in true love. I've always been like a hardcore romantic. I've always said, if I were to meet the love of my life, that soulmate that I believe everyone has, and let's say we're married for like 10 years, and she passes away, I would stay single. I wouldn't have sex. I wouldn't do nothing, because I would have lost the love of my life. You know, but people say we need to move on. Why? The next person's not going to be the love of my life. Even if I were to, even if I did move on and I cared about that person very deeply, you only get one love of your life. You only get that one, and that's not that one. Technically, I'd be robbing someone else of their one. I don't know. Maybe it sounds stupid, but anyways, the show is an amazing show, an excellent show. Everybody should definitely check it out. It's not just about that family. You get to see how everyone deals with the fallout. I mean, think about it. That's a big jump. Like, if you were to go missing in 95 and come back 5.5 years later, maybe early 2001, that's a technological jump right there. That's going from AOL dial-up to, like, DSL internet and the early shreds of cable internet, maybe. But definitely DSL. So yeah, that's a change. 95, when you hardly saw someone with a cell phone, to 2000, where people were getting cell phones like crazy. But it's on Netflix. They have the first 2 seasons. I looked into it, and the 3rd season just finished, and now supposedly this is the last one. There's a petition online. I might just link the petition in the description, because I signed that petition for Netflix to pick it up and make it a 4th season. It's a good ass show. It's worth it, definitely. But yo, if you've seen the show, tell me what you think of the show. Who's your favorite characters? If you haven't seen the show, definitely check it out. And as y'all know, this is still Shady C, and I'm always right.